want proof positive that the work assignments at DK Pittsburgh Sports are made out well in advance, you should know that I'm covering this weekend series in Cleveland. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into football and or hockey. I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. It'll be Pirates versus Indians tonight at Progressive Field. Wait, did I say Indian? I did not mean to do that. But I swear, Pirates and Guardians, that's going to take a long time. Pirates and Guardians tonight at 7:10 p.m. I don't know what I'm going to write about. I'm going to let that come to me. But I've got 3 columns to complete while I'm up there, and I'm going to sit there in that press box and dutifully do exactly that. But what I can tell you, the listeners of this podcast thing that I do on the side, is that my general focus won't change. I'm not going to get caught up in the small stuff that takes place. I'm not going to get caught up in the pivotal point of the game, the big decision, or any of that stuff, because they've thrown that away, not me. Their games don't mean anything anymore because they fell apart. And now, what's of interest to me, including in on-location coverage, is what's going to happen. Who's out? Someone's got to be out. You can't have a season like this. You can't have a year 5 like this and just say, we'll just get them next year. And for those of you who come back at me every time I bring up something like that with Bob Nutting will never, he'll have to spend money. I can't say this often enough, and if you're new to paying attention to our brand of coverage, we dig for facts. And the fact in 2019 was that Nutting / the Pirates paid a grand total of $17.2 million for all those guys to go away. That is the combined dollar figure committed to Frank Coonley, Neil Huntington, Kyle Stark, and Clint Hurdle. They collected every penny of that for not working. And all of those checks came from the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I don't want to hear that it could never happen, since it already did. In fact, it happened twice because something similar occurred when Dave Littlefield was fired a decade earlier. So the question isn't, can it happen or would Nutting pay for it to happen? The question is, who? How many of them? Do not come at me with just Derek Shelton. I'm not interested in that. You know who would be interested in that? People who just very passively watch the Pirates, on TV, and they sometimes care, they usually don't, but they feel like getting into the conversation because it's fun to get into conversations in which everybody's mad. And then they remember who the guy was on TV during the games, and that guy, the manager, he's no good, get rid of him. That's who does that. If you don't know anything else about this team than that they stink in the moment, or that they stunk against the Cubs, or that they've stunk since late July, then you know what? Do everybody a favor and just sit this one out, okay? Because this is about a lack of talent, and it's about a lack of instruction, and it's about a lousy approach, and it's about poor drafting, and it's about poorer development. And the field manager is but one subtext in all of that. If you fire only Shelton, what you're going to get back is Shelton 2, and everything else will stay the same. Had this talk with someone yesterday, right outside our downtown headquarters and shop. Guy just walking past asked me what I think's going to happen with Shelton, and I said, "Why do you ask it that way?" He actually made him stop. Just warning you, if you ever come by, I'll make you stop. Why do you ask it that way? Why do you ask just about the field manager? And he said, well, honestly, it would at least be a start. No, it would not be a start. It would be a finish. It would be a finish to the 2025 season because all of the same people would not only stay, but they'd also be emboldened because they were able to get rid of the Latin American scouting director and the field manager, and I'm sure within that a couple other coaches. And they come off smelling like roses. They're retained. They've gotten their endorsement from Nutting. Repeating this for dramatic effect, if only Shelton goes, you've achieved nothing. One last thought here. If your only comeback to this is something Nutting, nothing changes if Nutting is still here, listen, he's the owner. He can't be fired. He can't be removed. You can come up with all the fantasy scenarios you like, and they do a lot of this online about how Major League Baseball is someday going to step in. No. Look at Oakland. Oakland is your ultimate worst-case ownership scenario. Nothing was done about Oakland. The A's are about to go spend like 2 or 3 years in some minor league park in Sacramento or something. This situation doesn't even share a solar system with that one. And nothing was done. Nobody's going to buy him out. Mark Cuban's not going to buy him out. Cuban tweeted about the Pirates' ownership yesterday, used a line that he's used before about how if you stood in the middle of Market Square and everybody yelled at you, but you made $25 million a year for it, would you do it? The implication there being that Nutting is happy collecting $25 million a year and being the most unpopular man in town, and that as a result, he'll never, ever sell. I'll bet Mr. Wonderful would have something to say about him on the set of Shark Tank. Because Mr. Wonderful would say, hey, Mark, which would you rather have, $25 million a year or a $1.5 billion check up front? Because that's what you'd get if you put the Pirates up for sale today. He's not selling because he doesn't want to sell. So he's not going anywhere. You might as well stay realistic on this. When we come back, J1Q. This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern that's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from Paul in North Jersey. It's a good one, too. Paul says, DK, continuing to roll out David Bednar in a closer role defies logic. With Bednar's value at an all-time low, could it be possible that Ben Cherington is demanding Derek Shelton tries to get Bednar right before the end of the year to showcase him for a trade in the offseason? No. Listen, I'm Cherington's most ardent critic, but no. That kind of decision, yes, everybody discusses it. Yes, Cherington's in those discussions, but that has to happen at field level. That has to be something that's between the manager, the bench coach, the pitching coach, and to an extent, the player. Here's what I mean by the latter. Bednar can tell them, I've got an ouchie. They can ask Bednar if he's got an ouchie. And they can do that even though we're watching Bednar throw 98 effortlessly. He's not commanding it, and he's got no command of his off-speed stuff right now. But that's tough to assign to an injury, and they all know that. They know he's healthy. Bednar knows he's healthy. Now, what does matter, and this is independent of trade possibilities, is that he gets better. He's an important player on this roster. He's an important player in this franchise's near-term future. He just is. Now, is it important to the extreme that you run him out there every time you've got a lead in the ninth inning when that hasn't been working for a month? No, of course not. And it's absurd that he's been sent out there. This is something you attach to Shelton, I believe. This is something that you put on the field manager, I believe. But I got to tell you, and I don't have any major league managerial experience, but if I was in Shelton's shoes, I'd be doing something similar. Again, I wouldn't be running him out there in a pure closer's role the way Shelton continues to do. I'd easily turn to Aroldis Chapman. I'd have no issue with that, including after Chapman giving up a few runs himself the other night. But right now, if you think about this, and if you try to be fair to Shelton, who, I'll reiterate, really shouldn't be here as the manager in 2025, still, if you're being fair to him, you'll acknowledge that Bednar fell apart, Colin Holderman fell apart, Chapman's on the wrong side of his mid-30s, Carmen Mlodzinski got hurt, Ryan Borucki got hurt, missed the whole season. And all of these guys, all of them were people that we were talking about back in Bradenton that were going to make for this spectacular back end of a bullpen where you wouldn't know from day to day which guys were going to come and wipe you out. The only one still standing is the old man, still bringing that slider at 105 when he feels like it. Amazing, amazing. But that's not enough. He's not enough. And shy of trying to force somebody like a Kyle Nicholas into that role because you see him have, the occasional nice appearance, you didn't really have answers there. Those answers had to come from your general manager. If you want to pin something on the GM out of the scenario that you laid out, that's probably about it. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody who listens to this show about this godforsaken cause. I have no idea why you do it. You probably really shouldn't do it for your mental health. Don't come back here on Monday. Do not listen to this show. Find something else to do with your life. I don't have a choice. I'm in Cleveland the next 3 days, and I'll be recording a show whether you're here or not, but you can just go for a walk, smell the flowers, do something that isn't this. I'm actually being serious. And for all the rest of you, yeah, I'll see you Monday.